Hey guys, Andrew Brower from Talking Loud. First off, I apologize for how I sound. I have a fever right now that I've been dealing with for a few days, so I unfortunately sound funny right now. I'm hopefully I can get over it in a few days, but right now I'm making this quick little video to address some things. We'll call it an update video if you want. But so the thing is that I've been hearing some people saying that the Talking Loud podcast is dead. You guys haven't put out a video since August, I believe. Where is the new videos and whatnot? So here's the thing: is that we actually have plenty of podcast episodes coming up pretty soon. Like we have the September one that's set to come out next, October, November, December episodes. We also recorded the May and June podcast episodes. We haven't forgotten about those. Those are coming out as well. And of course, we also have the podcast episode where we talked about the our favorite and least favorite episodes of season two. And that's not even counting some of the late night now talk episodes that I've been doing with Muppet and Cartoon OG. Those are also coming as well. The thing is that for so far for the podcast, I have been doing all of the editing. I've been doing all the editing, recording, getting everybody together and whatnot. And unfortunately, I've had a hard time balancing out editing while also dealing with school, which unfortunately, because of this podcast, my I haven't been doing great. So it's been kind of stressful trying to balance out this podcast and balancing out school as well. So for right now, that's why we haven't really been putting on a podcast episode because I've just been having difficulty balancing everything out. I mean, I'm on winter break right now, but I've also been at work, and not to mention the fact that I'm sick as well because, it's 40 degrees outside and it's winter, so why not have me get a fever and have me sound sick? But anyways, I'm getting off topic. So what I was gonna say is that the September podcast is coming up. I'm in the process of editing it, and it's the one where we have Digi Cartoonist 99 on, which is a pretty exciting podcast. Where it's gonna be pretty fun talking about for you guys to check that out. But the thing is that, and we have the other podcast coming out. The podcast is not dead. We are still gonna be releasing the podcast episodes. Like we got a lot of stuff coming up. You guys don't even know, but. The thing is that I'm gonna be letting a very good friend of mine uh, take care of the editing. So then that way it takes a lot off my shoulders. So then that way I can just focus on recording everything and getting everybody together. And then I can let my good friend of mine who goes by the name of Ronnie, who's also been responsible for a lot of the artwork. He's a really cool guy, really great friend of ours who has been a really great big help when it comes to the podcast. We're hoping to have him on someday for an episode. We have a lot of people planned to have as guest stars coming up, so look out for that. So that's what's going to be happening after the September podcast comes out. Hopefully, I can have the other podcast episodes coming out. I just got to make sure that they're edited by Ronnie. I gotta send all the files to him, and hopefully, he says he's cool with it. So hopefully, we can have it all out, and then you guys can check out the podcasts, and hopefully by then the new episodes will be coming out for season three, and then we'll be all caught up. So that way, you guys don't have to worry or just say things like, "Oh, this podcast is dead" or whatnot. So yeah, so don't worry. We have a lot of stuff coming out. So the Talking Loud podcast is not dead. We've just been really busy. I've had a lot to do with school and then also work and also with my family and then also my own personal free time. So I've had a lot on my plate right now. So that's why I've not been putting out podcast episodes. So I'm really sorry that I haven't. Again, I really do want to continue this podcast. I love doing this with my friends. I love hearing feedback from you guys. You guys are awesome, showing support, giving us feedback, all that kind of stuff. Continue to support the Talking Loud podcast. We got a lot of stuff coming out, and hopefully we can continue to make this last. So the other thing I want to address though is one of our podcast members named who goes by the name Weejack. We've had him on for a few episodes, and we've had it planned for him to be a regular member. But the thing is that all of us in the Talking Loud crew, me, Muppet, Vossi, and Yoshi, along with some friends of ours, we've been talking about this thing that's been going on with Weejack, and that the thing is that we originally were recording the May and June podcast episodes, and then also the September one as well. Which the September podcast was originally going to have Weejack on it, but the thing is that he wasn't ready for it. Now, let me explain. Is that he couldn't make it onto the September podcast, so he was going to record his thoughts on the episodes. Now, Yoshi couldn't make it as well, but he managed to record his parts for the episode. But Weejack never got around to doing that. Even though he was promising, like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll have my parts, and then, like, the deadline comes, he doesn't have it, and then he just kind of goes on a pity party and says, like, I don't feel like I'm going to be here and whatnot. And he's been doing this a lot lately. Like, the reason why the May and June podcasts, like, the reason why he's not on them, and also for the other ones, is because we've had him planned. We have had him planned to be on these podcasts. It's just that two things have happened. Either A, he doesn't show up, or B, he's not prepared. And usually, like, when he doesn't show up, it's like, okay, if you can't show up, then we can have you record your parts where you pretty much give your thoughts on the episodes and whatnot. So we had that plan. He was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then, like, when it comes to the deadline of where, like, it's like, okay, I got to start editing. I need your part. And he doesn't have it. And unfortunately, this has been happening one too many times. And unfortunately, that has been happening for multiple podcast episodes. And it's gotten to the point where this whole pity party rant that he's been doing where he doesn't have his part, then he apologizes, and then he goes on a rant about how awful he is, and he's even like tried to leave the DM group multiple times. Then we had to bring him back and tell him, look, it's all right, you should stay. He's been doing this many times before, and honestly, me and the rest of the crew have just been getting sick of it because, I mean, I could definitely say that I was also partially to blame for why the podcasts haven't been coming up. And honestly, I can blame myself for why these haven't been coming out. I've been balancing out school, my free time, and then also work, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm also to blame for why these podcasts haven't been coming out. But Weejack is also partially to blame as well, since he doesn't seem like he fully wants to be on this podcast, even though he's claimed multiple times that he wants to be a part of the podcast. He really wants to be, even though he doesn't seem to be prepared. Even like something that you might not know about our podcast is that some of us do have to write notes. And one of them is Weejack, who says that even after he watches an episode, he has to write notes down or watch an episode again and whatnot so he can be ready. And even when we're ready to record, he doesn't have his part. He doesn't have anything written. He doesn't have any notes. And so we came up with that rule since when we first had him on, he just wasn't prepared at all. So that's when we were like, why don't you take down notes? And then right when we were about to record, he has nothing. And then he just, again, goes on like a whole thing of like, I'm sorry, I don't have anything and whatnot. And again, like, we feel bad for him. But again, he's been doing this multiple times lately that honestly, me and everyone else on the crew has just been getting sick of it. So a few months ago, we told him that he should take a break. And he has been taking a break. And then he's been saying that, I'm ready to come back, but honestly, we've been trying to see if he can be ready to come back, but Weejack has also been working on a few projects with a few of our other friends, and based off of what they told me, he, unfortunately, this whole thing of him not being prepared and not being ready or not having, like, his shit together, it's not just with the podcast, it's been multiple other things. Now, we're not saying Weejack is a bad person. We love talking with him. And for what he has to talk about the Loud House, it's been great as well. But we honestly feel like having him as a member, it wasn't exactly the right call. Since he doesn't exactly seem like he fully wants to be on this podcast, if you get what I mean. It honestly kind of seems like he enjoys talking with us, but he doesn't seem as dedicated to talking about this show as much as us. And so because of that, like, honestly, even though he says he's ready and he's been on break, it's like, at this point now, it's like, maybe you should just stay off permanently. Now, that being said, when we get the chance, we might have Weejack on as a guest occasionally, but then again, we have a lot of guests planned for the podcast, which is why we're kind of putting a halt on our having guests on podcasting because we have like a list of people that we've talked with privately who want to be on our podcast. So unfortunately for that, we're kind of putting it at halt for having guests on the podcast. But on the matter of Wejack, as of right now, he's going to be leaving permanently. We have told him this. So, and again, we're not saying he's a bad person. We enjoy talking with him, but having him off the podcast would only be best for everybody, including him. We honestly think that he needs to get help. He needs to work out his shit, try and figure out what's wrong, and just get over some of the issues that he's having. But again, like we might have him on as a guest for later podcasts. We'll have to see. So, but as of right now, he's no longer an official member of the Talking Loud. As of right now, it's me, Muppet, Vossi, and Yoshi. And at this point now, it's just us four. Like us four are the only members of the Talking Loud crew. We're not really accepting any new members at this time, so it's just us four. So that's how we have it. But as for Wejack himself, if you're listening, we hope that you can get better and work out your issues that you're having. But we'll still talk with you. We'll still be your friend. So we're only doing what's best for you and what's best for everybody else. So, but for right now, look out for the September podcast. That's going to be coming soon. I promise you, it will be out soon. I will make sure of that. And we're going to be having more podcast episodes coming up. Again, the Talking Loud podcast is not dead. We have a lot of stuff coming out, so look out for that. So until next time, I am Andrew Brower, and we'll see you on the next podcast.